And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Around the Bases with Bubba and Mo. The nicest episode we've ever had, Mo. Episode 69.
Yes.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I think I need to start because it's not on here. I need to ask about Hunter Strickland. I need to just get right into that right away. I mean, that guy is a clown, huh?
I was wondering where it was. I couldn't find it on here. He's a mental midget. Yeah. He is the modern day Nuke Lelouch from Bull Durham. He has $1 million arm and a 10-cent brain. That's pretty much where I can look at him because he's actually was very, very good out of the pen this year. That was his worst appearance of the season. Might have been his first blown save or second blown save. He hasn't been really, really good. ERA below 3, so he's kind of gotten rid of all the issues he had before. And he goes and does that crap. And of course, he's yelling with Lewis Brinson and other things and decides to hit a door, and usually objects like that win more often than not. So another injury out 6 to 8 weeks is just beautiful, beautiful stuff.
I love the tweet. I forget exactly what it was. I retweeted it that the wall or the door must have hit a home run off him 3 years ago. So that
exactly.
It was pretty good. I enjoyed that one very much. But yeah, it's at least both of our teams now have somebody that got hurt. At least your guy made it worth it, and our guy is out probably a year and a half for throwing his glove. So I mean. Take that as Carson Smith a few weeks ago. He got hurt, throwing his glove against the thing, and now he's out for a year. So that's Carson Smith's career with the Red Sox in a nutshell. But yeah,
baseball at its finest, always something. Mm-hmm. We talked a few weeks ago about some potential trades, and one name we thought we were really, really high on was Kelvin Herrera of the Kansas City Royals, and he's already been dealt first big move of the off season or the end season. Going to the Washington Nationals, it's kind of funny because it's a team that made two trades last year. Got Ryan Madson and Sean Doolittle, and Doolittle's been outstanding in the closer's role. So you go and get a guy like Kelvin Herrera, and you got him for a couple prospects, Blake Perkins and Kelvin Gutierrez and Yanzi Morel. Nothing that really jumps off the page, but does help assist them continue to reload that we already talked about doing well in the draft. What's your takeaway from this? Because he strengthens a bullpen, but he's not closing, if that makes sense to anybody.
First off, I'm shocked by the return that the Royals got. I know he's only a rental, but I feel like relievers are a little bit different, whereas, you get a starter, whatever, but relievers, the way baseball's going in terms of the playoffs, the bullpen's in there earlier, and it is what it is. Which is why they need to change some of the things with arbitration where it relies on saves more often. I don't know how they'll do that, but that's another story for another day. If we flash back to a year and a half ago when the season started, we both were saying, well, the Nats, it's going to hold them back is their bullpen. When is David Robinson going to be there? They're going to make a trade for someone else. And then, as you said, they made the trade for Doolittle and Madsen, and then they made the trade for Kinsler. And now they make a trade for Herrera, and they've rebuilt that bullpen for I don't know if it's their last run because obviously Juan Soto has been a revelation, and he maybe he's not Bryce Harper right away, but damn, that kid's a talent. So they may not miss a beat with, once Harper leaves after next year. But I'm shocked by the Royals. I figured they'd have literally, like you said, they got nothing. They have the 10th, 11th guy, and then a lottery ticket, 17-year-old kid who got signed last year, I think out of the Dominican. I thought there'd be a bidding war, Bob. I really did. I mean, you've got the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Angels, the Cardinals, the Indians. I mean, at the time, yeah. The Indians, there's at least 5 to 8 teams that were going to be in on this. And Brad Hand, I don't think he's going anywhere. Raisel Iglesias was going to get more than him. It'd be tough to see him go anywhere, but you never know. It was really Herrera. It was Herrera and Britton who's coming off the Achilles. So maybe the Royals said, I saw that his velocity was down a little bit in a couple starts. They got worried, and so they pulled the trigger. But I don't understand what Dayton Moore did here, because from everything I'm reading, Bubba, there's the two guys that are almost major league ready are fringe guys, and then he all of a sudden compared them to Kane and Alcides Escobar, who no one thought were going to be good offensively either. And that's just a stretch to me, real stretch.
Yeah, these guys were like the two main pieces, quote unquote main pieces, were outside the top 10 in the national system. In the national system, Soto's still technically counts on. You got Victor Robles and Carter Keyboom, but after that, it's a bunch of fringy guys. We've seen some of the pictures, and they really haven't panned out quite yet. There's really not a ton going on in that system, at least at the moment, hasn't broke through. So when you're telling me you got 2 guys outside the top 10, essentially 3 guys, yeah, it's not doing the trick. And it could be something, like we talked about with Brian last week with the draft. They drafted all those college pitchers. Maybe their thought process is, hey, get us some guys that can at least be on the roster now to make a run with some sort of run with some of these guys before they're all gone. I have no idea. It doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not justifying it in any way. I think it's stupid because the biggest takeaway is, like you said, there's like 7 or 8 teams that all could have used these, and they could have given them one prospect better than all 3 of them and probably walked away just happy. So I'm not sure exactly how the whole situation breaks down. And the other weird part is, if you're thinking Royals, and I haven't looked into the arbitration and all that, you'd think, and I know they changed the rules about if you were to sign somewhere else, you don't get the certain picks anymore, but you still get a compensation pick of some sort. They could have utilized that probably.
Yeah, I would have to look at that too. I don't know exactly, what they would get, whether it's a first round sandwich pick, second round. I think it's depending on how much they sign for. So maybe it'd probably be more like a second round sandwich pick, but I'm not exactly sure, like you said. All right, let's move on from that one. Let's go to our buddy Jim Bowden, who, we make fun of him. We made fun of, Bobby Nightingale, who there was another tweet last night of Matt Harvey's stock going up every time he pitches, which was peak Bobby Nightingale. I couldn't even believe he tweeted that. But
on a side note, real quick, did you watch any of that Harvey start last night? Because on MLB Network for us here.
I did not. I actually had the NBA draft on, so that's what I did.
I was actually, we don't have to go any farther than this, but I was impressed. He was actually looked closer to the old Matt Harvey than the new. By any means, does that mean it's going to continue? Probably not. But he actually looked really damn good in that start. I was shocked.
So
okay, maybe Bobby's like 30% correct.
If you say so. I can't even picture Bobby being anything more than 10% correct on anything. So if you say so, but so we'll go with our buddy Jim Bowden, who obviously writes for The Athletic and does everything else. But he said, here are 6 trades AL contenders should make for the deadline. I've included all of them, Bubba. We don't have to go deep into all of them, but I'm sure there are a few of them that we will go deep into. I know you had some words over text. Let's start with the first one. Blake Snell to the Yankees for Justice Sheffield, Clint Frazier, and Eric Swanson. What do you think about that one?
You could have told me Blake Snell for Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, and I'd probably tell you you're high, Jim Bowden. But I saw the reason I opened this article, that's why I laughed when you wanted to talk about it. I only opened it because I saw the picture of Blake Snell. And I'm like, what asinine thing could they possibly be selling? They can't trade Chris Archer for starters. Now you're going to trade this younger kid who is cheaper, so maybe you think you're going to get a bigger haul. But you're getting Clint Frazier, who in a small sample has done good. Maybe he'll be great. Who knows? Justice Sheffield, who we still haven't seen on the big league stage yet, so we don't know for sure if that talent's going to translate. Blake Snell is turning into your ace, your absolute ace. We saw what Chris Sale went for. I'm not saying Blake Snell by any means is Chris Sale, but say another year or two, and obviously his arm could fall off, but another year or two, Blake Snell keeps these improvements. That's when the Rays cash in. Why the hell would they trade him right now? So I just laughed when I saw it. I thought it was the craziest, dumbest thing I've ever seen. But then you keep reading the article.
Yeah, I had a big no in this. 4 more years of control after it. I get the one thing I take from this is the Yankees have to make a deal of some sort, and we know that. And mainly one reason, obviously, is the most obvious reason. They need to improve their rotation. They need to improve their team so that they can beat the Astros. And they can beat the Nationals, and they can beat the Dodgers, and whoever else is going to be there. Number 2 is they have too many prospects that can't play everywhere. They just don't have anywhere for them to play. So that's the other reason. You don't want to completely gut your farm system, but when you have too many, you have to just trade them and get the guy that you want. I mean, they need a starter, number 1, and I don't know who it will be. I mean, Blake Snell would be the perfect one for them, but there's no way the Rays will do that. It's crazy.
Both those points you just made about needing a pitcher and all the prospects they have, if there's only a guy available out of Pittsburgh last trade deadline, only a guy out of Pittsburgh, it would have been really good to pick him up.
Was it Chad Cool? Trevor Williams?
Garrett Cole.
Oh, Garrett Cole.
Trade deadline.
Yeah, we'll talk about him. We'll talk about him a little bit later.
That would have been a good one
to
unload on.
That would have been a really good one. I wonder if, you know what's funny, just like spitballing here, I wonder if their Joe Musgrove would have been Jordan Montgomery, which would have been very interesting.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, Jordan Montgomery and someone like that. All right, the next one is, obviously he's already dealt, but Herrera to the Astros for J.D. Davis and one of their prospects, Alcala. I guess, you know, JD, they have a few corner infield guys that are like ready to be in the majors and get a shot, but they're just blocked. You know, the Tyler White's kind of got a shot, whatever. I guess my question is, because the deal obviously already happened with the Nats, would you rather this deal from the Astros than you would from the one with the Nats?
Yes, that's all I'm gonna say. Yes,
I agree.
That one with the Nats is horrible.
The next one is very interesting. I think actually, you know, Jimmy could be on. This one makes the most sense. He could get a little momentum here with his article is Raisel Iglesias, Amir Garrett for Francisco Mejia and Shane Bieber from the Indians, and this is not a bad one.
This is a great one. Raisel Iglesias, we've talked about it before. A lot of people talk about it from fantasy or real life, whatever standpoint you want to look at this. He's been outstanding, like really, really, really good. And he doesn't have to close. He can be a long reliever, like 2 or 3 inning guys. He could be your new Andrew Miller while he's hurt, or he can be another kind of Peacock or Davinsky, any of these type of guys. He'd be outstanding. And Amir Garrett, he might have found his role as a starter. You know, the second time through the order, things didn't work. But coming out of the bullpen, and we've talked about that with other guys like Giolito and stuff. Maybe there's just something about these guys that they can't go multiple times through the order. The stuff is there. That's why they were prospects and got there. Garrett was that. He was outstanding in the minors, and he looks great. And it gives him a good lefty arm to come out of the pen. Now you can match him and Miller up out of the bullpen. And you got Allen and Iglesias. That foursome right there, let alone the other pretty good relievers they have, it elevates you for that title run to kind of try to get past the Astros and the Yankees. And I think this one, like you said, out of the 6 moves he puts in here, this one makes the most sense. Giving up a guy like Francisco Mejia that they just have no spot for. They don't trust him to catch. He can't really play defense that well, especially not over Jose Martinez or Yonder Alonso or Edwin Encarnacion on the corners. There's nowhere for the kid. And you're just wasting years of potential and actually value by just kind of teetering him around. And then Shane Bieber, he looks like he could be good. My jury's still out on him, but signs point to good. How good, we don't know.
I wonder why the Reds would have to throw in Garrett in this deal, to be honest with you, because if they trade Iglesias, he takes over as closer. I mean, he's throwing as a starter, he was throwing 91.7 on average. Now he's throwing 94.8. So obviously that worked. And his fastball, I think last year with Fangraphs, his fastball was rated minus 19.8 as his rating for his fastball. And this year it's up to 3.7. So clearly the added velocity helped him out. Because like you said, they don't have anywhere to play Mejia. Bieber it is what it is. I mean, they're kind of in a tough situation where you don't know about Danny Salazar, but Bauer's been great. Clevenger's been great. Carrasco is always hurt, but he's still great. And they still have Kluber. So I like this deal for the Reds, but I don't know why you have to throw in Amir Garrett. I don't understand that. The next one is my deal. It's Shane Green for Jalen Beeks, Josh O'Keefe, and Sheriff from the draft last year, Alex Sheriff. This one's a tough one for me. I want to see what you think about this one before I go.
As just commentary for the show, I would love to see Shane Green face the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. Just throwing that out there. I'm just telling you that, like, yes, we've discussed how you guys need another reliever or two. Shane Green is the biggest smoke and mirrors closer in all of baseball. Do not the Tigers are going to make a killing on this guy from someone, and he's not that good, at least in my opinion. So I think you guys would be making a huge mistake if you made this trade.
I'm pretty much in agreement. The issue we're having here is that they're not getting Brad Hand or Raisel Iglesias. We don't have the prospects for that. Jim Bode must be surprised by the Herrera trade, considering he didn't think the Sox could get him. That's what he said in the article, which I disagree with. And obviously the return is there. you kind of hit the nail on the head. I have Shane Green as just okay. I mean, the last 2 years he's been okay. But in Detroit with no pressure situation, I'm really, really hoping they're able to swing a deal for Zach Britton. That's the guy I want because, number one, we don't have a good lefty out of the bullpen. And number two, if he is back to what he's supposed to be, he would be tremendous in front of Craig Kimbrell. I mean, absolutely tremendous. Although, you know, my big thing is Mike Trout to Philly in 2020. I really think Manny Machado and Zach Britton together are going to the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers have enough to make that package happen, and that's exactly what they need for a rental year. Is they need Manny Machado to play shortstop because Corey Seager's coming back next year, and then they need Zach Britton to be in front of Kenley Jansen. So that's exactly what I think is going to happen. I wouldn't trade. Now, I know Jalen Beeks sucked in his first start. He had some unlucky soft contact, a couple of bloopers and whatnot. He's turned it. He's been fine in Pawtucket. I'm not saying he's the best prospect in the world, but I'm also saying that he's better than Hector Velasquez. He's better than Brian Johnson, who we have in our bullpen now. And you've got a couple of starters that are going to be gone after next year too, and Porcello, maybe Sale. I'm not sure I would give him up in that deal. The other two, if we get Shane Green for the other two, I'd be okay with that, but not Jalen Beeks.
That's what I was going to say. Is you can deal Green for a different return.
Right, exactly. The last two, well, I don't. This whatever. It's just not big to me. But Dan Straley to the Mariners for Wyatt Mills and Matt Festa. Dealing Jerry DePoto. He could be at it again. I know they need depth in the rotation. This is kind of a whatever deal for me. It's just to add another arm.
Yeah, I agree. It's nothing special. We know the Mariners system isn't great unless you're going low A. So I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. And then the last one is Cole Hamels to the Angels for a couple of prospects, Ward and Marsh. This one, I don't think that he's going to go there unless they make a little bit of a run over the next month because, the Mariners are sort of running away from him here.
Yeah, no, the Angels are slowly falling out of contention here. That run they had was great. I think it's going to be a great move for the Rangers because Taylor Ward and Brandon Marsh look to be two good little prospects. Marsh drafted in 16, and he's starting to, looks like, get things going. And first-round pick Ward in 15. So there's something to at least work with these two guys, unlike some of these other deals that Bowden put out there.
Right.
All right, let's get into something I thought is outstanding. All I saw on the outline a few days ago is he put a note down, Paul Loduca's tweets. And I'm like, what the hell did I miss? Like, what did I miss? Then he put a link to the article. And my God, if you want to talk about someone's ass in a jackpot, it is Paul Loduca. It is unbelievable how this went. Do you want me to just read all the tweets, or do we just want to talk about it?
No, yeah. Let's give some background to it.
Okay, I'll read these tweets because this is electric factory. Like, this is amazing. So Anthony DiComo, one of the beat writers for the New York Mets. The Mets offense, don't have to say anything more. They were facing the Diamondbacks. They lost 7-3 on Friday night. They had runners on second and third with no outs. And he tweets, the Mets put runners on second and third with no outs. Guess if they scored. And then in parentheses, D-backs 1, Mets 0 going to the bottom of the second. So, yeah, you get the picture. Then Paul Loduca, who, by the way, works for the Action Network. I didn't even realize that. That's outstanding.
Action Network, NYRA, everything. He's all that thing, yeah.
That's outstanding. So he tweets out, quote tweets DiComo. He says, gotta love beat writers who bash his team constantly, but played tuba in the band in high school. Great work at MLB. Probably shouldn't have attached MLB to that one. But, yeah, DiComo responds, the implication being ... tuba players are lesser people than the rest of us? ? So this gets better. So then everyone's, stat head hero, Keith Law, shows up to back DiComo here. And he says, Paul Loduca, who used steroids and HGH as a player, encouraged his teammates to do the same and cheated on his wife with a 19-year-old when he was 34, is here to try to denigrate a beat writer's character. He quote tweeted all that. So, yeah, this gets better and better. Loduca couldn't just let it go. Nope, we got to come back with this one. I'm the big boy. And he responds to Keith Law, encouraged, LOL. You went so far out of the lane. You don't know me one bit. Believe me what you read, Keith. This was a punk move, and you know it. Had nothing to do with you. And then Keith Law gives a gif of basically Floyd Mayweather kind of just bring it type stuff.
Love that gif.
Entertaining. Yeah, it was entertaining.
Throwing L's
so then
at
Paul
him.
Loduca, then Paul Loduca's response. This is where it gets good. Okay, you're already talking trash to each other. Whatever. Loduca, tell me when and where I'll be there with bells on. This is great. And he then responds again, gotta love at Keith Law, blocking my buddies on Twitter. Sums it up. Thanks for all the followers. Oh, when are we meeting? Keith Law, your buddy made a disgusting homophobic crack at me. You think that shit is funny? You need me. I'll be at a ballpark. And then Nakomo just kind of funny, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
He recaps the game. The final. D-back 7, Mets 3. The GOAT, tuba players everywhere. The stat, 12 losses that last 13 games. The streak, last 4. The record, so-and-so. The 162-game pace, the record. The emoji, a tuba.
Oh,
it's just outstanding. I read this earlier, dying.
You know what's funny is when I posted I saw the thing, like, I was on Twitter that night, so I saw it live
as it unfolded.
What was going on here? And I didn't see the end of it where his buddies were going after Loduca's buddies were going after him. Then Keith Law said he threw a homophobic slur, which you shouldn't do. And listen, Loduca, I mean, I'm a Loduca guy when I'm watching TVG and I'm at the track betting the horses. I love betting the horses, but man, why would you just attack someone? That's what I love when someone, like, we have in Boston, we have Scott Zolak, who is our Patriots beat guy, and he does the midday show 10 to 2. He was Drew Bledsoe's backup for all those years for the Patriots. And when he talks about something, or this is my favorite Twitter thing, someone will call and be like, well, you were a backup all those years, Scott. Well, what the hell are you? He was a professional football player, and you're not a professional football player. And then I'm like, well, and then when you make a comment about someone comes back on Twitter saying, well, you never played the professional baseball. How are you? This is what Twitter is for. This is what sports are for. So shut up. This is the worst. One of my pet peeves on Twitter is that. And Loduca nailed it in terms of being an asshole and saying what he did to Anthony DiComo. Like, what do you want him to say? The Mets suck. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Loduca, what do you think they sucked?
That's the part that made me laugh. Like, what game are you watching, Loduca?
Yeah, it's like unbelievable. It's stick to horses, I guess, Loduca. Don't stick to that Action Network thing. By the way, is weird, very weird. But
and he is good at the horses. So yeah,
stick to very good at the horses. But the Action Network thing is the characters that are going on there. That's a different story again for a different day. But let's get to the Fangraphs playoff odds. Again, I think we talked about the AL a while back, basically being done. I'll just go through the AL quickly. You've got to make the playoffs. You got the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Astros, all above 99%. You get the Indians at 96.6, and then you get the Mariners at 73. So that leaves that's the 5 playoff teams are all over 73% to make the playoffs. The other teams that have an outside shot are the Angels, Athletics, and the Twins. And the Twins are 5 games under 500. So the only reason I think they're 6.8% is because the Indians are kind of scuffling, even though they've turned it around. I think that's the only reason why they're 6%. So really, Bubba, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours, is the second wild card is between the Mariners and mainly the Angels. I don't think the Athletics will be there, although they're as close as the Angels are. But do you think that the 5 playoff teams as currently constituted will be our 5 playoff teams in October?
Barring injuries, yes. But like we said it before, like you said, the American League is pretty much it's a wrap, barring something just stupid happening. Like if these teams that are on paper that we see now just keep playing baseball, this is your playoffs, which is pretty crappy to hear. But side note, that lets a lot of teams know they can start selling it right now. Yeah,
it's the Billy Bean's gonna have an interesting month and a half here, or a month. Because he's got to make I don't think it's a tough decision, but it's tough to tell your fans when you're over 500 and you're, right now they're 8.5 games out of the wild card spot. It's tough to tell your fans that like you're selling, but he's got to make the right decision here. Got to trade Jed Lowry, got to trade whoever else you can. I think the interesting one is the American League East is 73% Yankees, 26% Red Sox. It's a tough one to take, but it's probably correct the way it is right now because even though they've played less games, they're up, I think, 4 on us in the loss column. It's a tough look there. It's going to be, I think the Red Sox can still win it because I think the Yankees rotation is still suspect, but really tough.
And check this out. The fun to look at these playoff odds from Fangraphs. So to win the World Series, the Yankees are 16.1%, Red Sox 9%, Indians 10.2%, and the Astros are 26.4%. Just out of curiosity, and I have my speculations, what makes the Astros that much heavier of a favorite than the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Indians?
Number 1, rotation. Number 2, number 2, I think they have the firepower, and I don't know if they put this into the projections, but I think they have the firepower in terms of minor leaguers to go get exactly what they need for that bullpen. I mean, they should go get Raisel Iglesias. They should go try and get Brad Hand. They should go get whoever they possibly can, whether they want to give up Kyle Tucker or, they're not giving up Forrest Whitley. I can tell you that much. They're not going to give those guys up. But I think they have the firepower to go get that bullpen guy that they need.
Yeah, the rotation is the thing that stands out the most to me. But otherwise, when you talk bats, it could be wild. And the weird part is we got to remember what makes the rotation that much more impressive. Last year in the playoffs, these powerhouses all met, and there were so many 3-1 games, 3-2 games because it was pitching ruled the world in the playoffs last year. So not saying it'll be the same this year, but definitely something to remember.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go to the NL real quick. This one, a little bit tougher, obviously. The Nationals, 90% to win they're 3 games back right now. 90% to make the playoffs, 80% to win the division. Braves are 45% make the playoffs, Phillies 18.7. And then first off, 3 games back the Nationals. Yeah. I think we both think they're going to win it, but pretty crazy that that's the percentage right now.
I was say, before we move on, that's wild that 3 games back, and we love the Braves, but I think we all kind of said it. They're still like a year away, and you're waiting for that kind of fall to happen, but they just keep doing it. And right now they're doing it without Acuna, who's been on the DL. Kind of Albies is slumping a little compared to what we saw earlier in the year. They, as of today, like an hour before we started recording, and this is Friday, Soroka just went back on the DL, which sucks. Absolutely sucks. But they just keep doing it, man. And they got an easy series this weekend, at least on paper. The fact that that's the difference in division odds, now given they still have a 45% overall playoff odds, so that's something, a whole different topic. But the fact they think the Nationals are going to run away with it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it is pretty nuts. The Phillies there, they got the Braves 30%. Well, we'll keep going with the divisions and make the playoffs. Then we'll go to the wild card. Let's go to the Central, where this one is the win of the division. You got the Cubs, who are 1 game back of the Brewers right now. Cardinals kind of falling off, but they're 78% to win the division. 14.4 to win the division is the Brewers. Make the playoffs is 95% pretty much for the Cubs, 58.5% for the Brewers, 36.1% for the Cardinals. Again, it's just the preseason favorites. They seem to be just backing these guys.
Yeah, the Cubs they're getting better too. Like they started out kind of slow. They kept winning. And now, Quintana's starting to pitch well. Lester's been out of his mind. If they can just get the rest of it all dialed in, Hughes still out. He might come back around the All-Star break, a little after the All-Star break, which would be huge. But their bats are waking up. Jason Hayward learned how to hit a baseball again, which is helping them a ton.
Weird.
But yeah, the Cardinals, they don't talk to – Joe's actually handled it well. There's a couple other guys like Matt Thompson and some other guys that we follow that are looking for ledges right now. When
Matt Thompson the Cardinals, is not happy. He is not happy at all.
Things went south real quick in St. Louis land when I don't know exactly what the tipping point was, but it's happened about the last week. And this projections show it. They're getting – it's getting worse and worse. I'd love to look at this in like another month and see if that 36% playoff odds, where it's at then.
Yeah, and one thing about the Cubs, Brandon Morrow, just put on your pants one leg at a time. Maybe sit down while you're doing it. You don't want to really strain anything. He's on the DL because he couldn't put his pants on correctly. So
let's talk for real. What do you think really happened?
Oof.
That's got to be fake, right? It has to be fake.
I mean, Clay Buchholz hurt himself holding his kid one time, his baby daughter. So,
Jeremy Affeldt hurt his hand by slicing open frozen hamburger patties.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rajon Rondo hurt himself slipping in the shower. So, I mean, these things happen, Bubba. I mean, it's,
they're human. They're human, Mo.
Everybody's human. These things, one time I tied my shoe, almost pulled my groin one time. So these things happen to human people, athletes like us. You have to deal with that kind of stuff. The Cardinals, that game against the Phillies, where they came back, and then he put the winning run on first, intentionally walked them. I was literally watching the game, and then Ozuna went for the catch. Brilliant effort, but had really no chance to get it. Matt Thompson was so angry. All the Cardinals people were so angry. You got Cardinals. The 50% of the Cardinals fans that are crazy now want to boycott until they get the manager gone and they want upper management gone.
That's almost a fireable offense making that walk.
Yeah, decision. You can't do that. You really can't. And
that's like rule. That's like in the top of the rule book.
Yeah, that's really bad. All right, let's move to the NL West. Dodgers 2.5 back of the Diamondbacks. They're 65% chance to win the division from Fangraphs. Diamondbacks are 26%, and then you've got the Giants and Rockies down below 5%. Very interesting. Dodgers 80%, almost 78% to make the playoffs. 46.8 for the Diamondbacks. Your Giants are 11.7. Listen, I said when we talked about the Dodgers when they were like, I don't know, 25-34 or something, and it's not over. They're going to figure it out. The rest of the teams have injuries. The rest of the teams are going to slow down, and that has happened. And now I think they're going to make that Machado-Britton trade, something like that. I think they're going to – I don't know if they're going to run away with it, but they're going to hit a hot streak here, not like they did last summer, but it's going to be a pretty good hot streak here, I think, coming up.
Yeah, no, they're just fine. It's what we've always said is they're going to find a way to get there in the end. And Max Muncy's been their savior this year. Jock Peterson's learned how to hit the ball again also with power. Bellinger's kind of still in a weird funk. He's really not getting it in. But, Justin Turner's now back. And Kershaw may be back in a couple of weeks. That keeps getting kind of pushed back a little bit. And I wouldn't rush that back either. But, we talk about Buehler's coming back. We got Stripling's been outstanding. They've just managed to – our biggest concern in the preseason was their depth, and it showed for a little bit there when they were struggling. But now they're starting to find guys pop up out of the weedworks, and they're carrying them again. So good ball clubs, stay good, and that's what the Dodgers are doing. And it's really scary because they're not at full strength, and they're starting to dominate baseball again. And they have the Mets this weekend, so they should have 3 more wins when we talk next week. And they're going to run away with it. I'd have they're winning the division like 85%, but I know they have some like calculation they're doing, so that's what it is.
You know who's hitting his stride too, and because Turner's been he's been bad. Jock Peterson is like quietly pretending to be the guy that we all thought he was going to be. He's got 9 home runs. He's batting .277. He's striking out only 13, almost 14% of the time compared to 21 last year. So maybe he's figured something out, and if he can figure something out,
still can't hit lefties though. It's the only thing.
What are you?
The only thing. I know, but yeah, he's been great.
There's only Madison Bumgarner in that division. You don't have to worry about any lefties there. So, the wild card ones are interesting. You've got, if you throw out those top 3, right? Because they take around 40% of that wild card percentage. You got the Brewers, the Braves, and then the Diamondbacks. The Brewers, the Braves, the Cardinals, and then the Diamondbacks. The Cardinals seem to be Walker's on the DL with a strained oblique. Martinez can't find the plate. I mean, it's just ever since he's come back, I've seen you tweeting about it and everyone else that he's pitching hurt and he's not pitching to his potential, and they need to just get him healthy. I think an article the other day, I haven't read it yet. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. And we did talk about 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, about how good the Cardinals have been in terms of their staff. People think that they should pull a Yankees from a couple years ago and sell, but still be relevant next year, which is kind of an interesting thought with the Brewers and Cubs in front of you and how good the quote unquote, how good the NL is this year. Maybe it's more how deep they are. But yeah, I think the Brewers will be there. And then I think it's going to be between the Braves, the Phillies, and the Diamondbacks. And maybe you think your Giants will be there too. Let's see what you think.
First off, on the Cardinals, I think that's a great philosophy to sell. Like, I guess you're talking about how Chapman, and they flipped him for Torres, and then they got Chapman back and stuff like that. I think that's a great idea because I think they're going to keep stumbling and they're not going to make the playoffs, period, the Cardinals. And you just went and got Ozuna and some other big pieces you have there. And you got Flaherty pitching great. You'll get Reyes back hopefully next year. And you have a lot of pieces in place that you're going to be competitive again next year. And maybe you can help the bigger picture. So I think it's an actually great idea. And we can go into that deeper. But the Brew Crew, if they can go trade for one more pitcher, it's always been our bugaboo with them as some more starting pitching. The Braves, that's what makes this interesting. Is they're young. Are they going to hang on? Because their pitching is not great either. They've just made it work so far. It's me interesting. But the Braves and the Brewers make the most sense to me. The D-backs I still see just kind of falling apart, but their offense has heated up. The Giants, they'll probably die off at like September and just make it fun for a while and then piss you off. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's the Braves and the Brewers, but it's going to be crazy. This is pretty wide open because literally the Giants are 38-38. They're only, 5 games back of the Braves, so it's like 2 good weeks of baseball, and all of a sudden you can get right back in this thing. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. We have a long ways to go.
Now, I've asked you this question once before, and the one thing about that Cardinals thing too is the guy you're trading to get someone back, and I know he has 1 year left, is Waka, and now he's hurt. So they don't really have much there to get rid of. Right now, you don't think the Giants will be there. I know he has 1 year left at $12 million. Are you trading Bumgarner to rebuild the farm system and hopefully be able to sign him back in 2 years?
No.
Nope.
Because I think wherever he goes, he'll sign. So in order to re-sign him, they need to keep him right now. He's not going to go somewhere for 2 years and come back.
You think he's going to go to New York and sign with New York? He doesn't seem like a New York guy to me.
He seems like an Atlanta guy to me. He's from Carolina.
Well, you're not.
He likes that humidity.
You're not trading him there unless you get Kyle Wright and whoever and a couple other guys.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to want to live somewhere there. So I'm talking about free agency wise. So you can trade him wherever you want, but once you trade him, he might not come back.
We're going to come up with a segment next. We're going to come up with a segment next week, and I'm going to have like 5 different trade offers for Madison Bumgarner, and we're going to see if you take any of them. So that's something we're going to do next week.
Oh boy. All right. Let's talk some quick hitters here, real quick. You got Miguel Sano gets demoted to Single A, and this just made me laugh so hard because the storyline in the preseason was he comes in looking quite hefty and healthy looking individual. And then he really hasn't got it going much at all this year. He's been on the DL a little bit. There's a lot of different reports coming about his, preparation. He finds out who the starting pitcher is like an hour and a half before the game. Like there's really a lot to be worried about when it comes to Miguel Sano. So they sent him to Single A, and just to clarify why some people might wonder why Single A, that's where their training facility is and all the people that can teach him how to be a real ball player. So that's the biggest reason he's there and not Triple A. But what's your thoughts on Miguel Sano going down to Single A to get help, basically? I
think that's one thing I wanted to clarify, and you nailed it, is that's what they said in the article. We're not going to follow the traditional view where, if someone's having trouble, throw them a Triple A. You don't want to go to Triple A. They send him to Single A. It's probably in like you said, in Fort Myers, and that will help him with folks that are around the franchise and the organization to help him be a better ball player. The one thing that has come up in my head is, when is there a suspension coming for him at some point, or did they throw that out? I don't remember. Like, could that still be coming?
I haven't really heard anything about that in a while. It's been pretty
what I mean?
quiet.
It's almost like they've swept it under the rug and like it never happened. So I wonder if if they're still thinking of it, but it's been 3 months. So I don't really know what's taking so long, but there's a reason. They've found some guys because he's been down. Escobar's been pretty good. Obviously Eddie Rosario has been tremendous in the outfield. This guy has so much talent, but it just seems like he just doesn't care, and that's not a good thing when you counted on him and Buxton to build the franchise around, and now you really have neither of them. It's pretty, and that's why the Twins season is kind of derailed a little bit.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good at all.
There was an article by Jason Stark in the Athletic about, expansion, realignment, new playoff format, the universal DH. I don't think we need to get crazy into it, but we talk about it every now and then because it's just being talked about a lot. I think everything we need to mention and need to preface this is Tampa and Oakland, they always say, need to be figured out first before this expansion. But the real main thing that I wanted to bring up is two things. One, the alignment that they have that Stark proposes, which separates the Giants and the Dodgers, it separates the Yankees and the Red Sox, it separates the Cardinals and the Cubs. That can't happen. It cannot happen. The rivalries need to stay. It just, if they did something like that when they actually moved to 32 teams, I'm not saying it would ruin baseball, but not to have those rivalries. And I know everyone hates watching the Red Sox Yankee games on Sunday Night Baseball 4 or 5 times a year because they're 5-hour games. But those rivalries in those particular markets need to stay as is. You're in one of them. I'm in one of them. I know Cubs and Cardinals fans would want to play the Cubs and Cardinals respectively all the time. That has to stay as it is if they are going to expand and realign into four team divisions for each league.
Yeah, because he starts out with that East and West thing, so it's really just one big baseball league, not an AL and an NL. And yeah, that takes away everything else. But the second one definitely has some legs to it, which gives you your competitive balance and doesn't make you travel a ton. But like, I'd hate the Giants division. It's Giants, A's, Mariners, Portland. Like, no,
Portland, baby.
That is fucking horrible. I don't even want to like imagine that as a possibility of what's going on. So the second scenario, which you can talk about, I think is much more viable.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like our division for Red Sox, Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles, Blue Jays, perfect. Okay. That's perfect. We don't got to go Tropicana Field anymore. For the National League, like you said, you'll get if I find it, Dodgers, Giants, Padres,
Giants.
Yeah, so that's the same thing. You lose cores, but it is what it is. But that's exactly what you need. Cubs, Cardinals, Reds, Brewers is perfect. And they're trying to save. I think the main thing with this is they're trying to cut down the travel a little bit, which is a good thing. For sure, they're going to move down to 154 game season, but maybe get more playoff teams, which is the one that I think will be very interesting to see how they do it and what they do. 16 teams, so that's half the league. If they take 16 teams, that's a lot. I'm not sure I'd go for that because it's baseball, and I don't think that would prove it after a long 154 team season. And you like for this season, for example, if Houston wins 110 games and then all of a sudden they have a bad 3-game series and they're out in the first round, no, I don't think so. I think it should be more like, if you're gonna have more playoff teams, it should be more like the NFL and have 12, and then the top 2 teams get a bye, 3-game series with 3 through 6. So if that's what you're gonna do, and because right now we have 10 teams. You have 2 more teams. You go to 12. The top 2 teams get a bye. Now that's something I can get behind. 16, I can't get behind.
Well, the concern a lot of people have had before about the teams getting byes in baseball is having that much time off to stay fresh.
Well, then they can play an extra series and lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How's this division sound to you? NL South: Braves, Marlins, Rays, and Charlotte. I guess there's going to be something.
It's going to be the Braves of the 90s again. They're going to win every year.
Yeah. Another note, though, if they change the amount of games in a season, how's that going to affect the record books?
It's a good point. They're going to have to adjust it. They're going to have to just add 5 wins to the team. That's it.
And those McCutcheon, Hall of Fame voters, they're not going to get those magical numbers anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They'll just have to stop juicing again, I guess.
Oh, I can get behind that. Yeah. All right, let's talk a quick update on the NL All-Star Game. Valley, I just wanted to bring it up because Freddie Freeman's still leading the way. You got Albies, Becraw, Arenado, and Posey in the end. That never changed. The position or the players haven't changed. You still have Harper, Kemp, and Markakis in the outfield. The brief thing I wanted to bring up, which is just absolutely amazing. Your outfield leading vote getter is Nick Markakis, and he's beating Bryce Harper by almost 175,000 votes. That is insane, Mo.
Hey, those Braves fans have woke up. They've woken up. They're here. They're good again, and they're here to vote for their guy 5 times a day, as much as possible. I mean, it is that's pretty insane that that he's getting more votes than Bryce Harper. I mean, he's getting more. You said now it's not. It's most votes in the NL, right?
Just for the outfield, Freddie Freeman sells the most. Yeah, but just the NL. Yes.
Well, yeah, seems like maybe the Braves could be the Royals of a couple of years ago, and the Cubs of just voting nonstop for their guy. I mean, he's had a tremendous year, probably deserves to be in it. But more votes than that. But like I said, it was either last week, a couple of weeks ago when the ballots came out, the fans have done pretty well this year. I'm kind of surprised by it.
I'm impressed with the American League. It's still Betts, Trout, and Judge in the outfield, which is fine.
Easy.
Jose Ramirez at third, Machado, Altuve, but Jose Abreu at first, which I love the hell out of that play.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wilson Ramos just took over Gary Sanchez behind the dish. So the fans have come out. Tampa Bay Ray, Mo, could win a fan vote. That is insane.
That is insane, and it's good. And I hope he's a Red Sox by the deadline. I hope he's on the Red Sox, but I'm not sure we can make that happen. But we need to upgrade a catcher badly, and he would be a huge upgrade.
Last thing I want to mention real quick, it was pretty cool last year when Major League Baseball did that Little League World Series deal, and it was like the Cardinals and the Pirates played over there in the Williamsport area, and they hung out with the kids and all that. Well, starting next year, the Tigers and the Royals are going to play a game in Omaha right before the College World Series begins, which will be the first ever professional game in Omaha. So all those Cornhuskers will see what baseball is all about, professional baseball. And it'll be pretty cool. They're going to keep expanding the game little by little. And it's kind of like what the NFL does with Europe, where they send their bad teams. They're always sending the Royals and the Tigers. So pretty good.
Royals, Tigers, baby. Get up in Omaha. Come on, baby. You got some good MLB baseball coming. You kidding me? Yeah, those guys are going to want to see the Tigers and the Royals when they have metal bats and college kids out there, and the games are awesome. That Oregon State North Carolina game, I think it was last night, was awesome. That's exactly what they're going to want to see is the Royals and the Tigers. They better hope Casey Mize is up. That's what they better hope, or somebody up there to get them all riled up, because Danny Duffy's not going to do it for them.
Oh, I can't believe you say that. How's that possible?
Oh man, come on. But
all right, let's do a little fantasy baseball player breakdown. And get my internet to cooperate here. But the first guy I want to talk about is Michael A. Taylor of the Washington Nationals, who's just been on a bit of a tear of late. And there's always the concern about being on the Nats and being with Adam Eaton, who's always got a chance to be hurt, which is nice. And then you got Soto, who's taken over. And you got Harper, of course. So he's kind of a platoony outfielder, if that makes sense. But what I wanted to mention, the way he's been stealing bags, he had a 4-steal game the other day. If looking for steals, I guess it's a guy to look for. He's going to get hurt again. But I just wanted to bring his name up because he's going to be available pretty much anywhere you want to look. Do you have anything on Michael A. Taylor?
Hey, 425 in June. Not hitting for as much power as he used to. But like you said, 8 stolen bases in June on 11 attempts. So he is trying to get there. I mean, he's got 21 steals total for the season. That's already more than he had last season, and it's only June 22nd. So, yeah, it's a cheap steals. I mean, he's not going to get as much playing time as he did last year, as you mentioned. So that's that. Well, at the end of the year, he got most playing time. But, I don't see his bat overall staying in, the majors long enough. But maybe because of his defense and his speed and athleticism, I wish he could cut the Ks down. But, yeah, he doesn't have anywhere to play right now. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening, for the rest of the season, as you mentioned, with Adam Eaton possibly getting hurt like he always does. And then next season, maybe he does get a starting job. But, yeah, the guy, if he with the playing time and he gets, even half on base as he did in June, could steal 40 bags. Let's move.
Don't forget how he played in the postseason last year. So he can put a run together and surprise some people.
Yeah, for sure. The next guy I want to bring up is Ian Kinsler. And, I thought the Angels made a good deal by getting him. I thought he was a little bit unlucky last year. I know he's old, and, the steals probably aren't there as they were in previous seasons because he's old, but I thought it was a good deal for them. And, yeah, it hasn't been. I know Jay Jaffe wrote an article a couple weeks ago about him. Is Ian Kinsler cooked? And that's not a good headline. That's not a clickbait headline at all. He kind of nailed it. He does have 7 steals this season, so he is on pace to get to that 14 that he sort of averaged the last couple seasons. But man, he's batting 220, 288 OBP. He did hit a little bit of a power surge here in June, and this is a short sample size, Bubba, but I want to read these stats for you against left-handed pitching. 62 plate appearances. So again, not a large sample size, but it's been going downhill the last few years. He has a 202 WOBA and a 24 WRC plus. Whenever I saw 24, I almost threw up, and it really was very weird to me. And I own him in one league, and it's a 20-team league. I got to try to upgrade from him, but I did want to bring up that it appears, even though the power came back a little bit in June, he's still hitting like 220 in June or 210. It appears to be the end of the line for Ian Kinsler.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks brings hope.
Yeah,
if that's one thing you want to believe in. It definitely brings hope. Like you said, the June's been better. The power's definitely showing up. He was banged up early on. Definitely could see the end of the Ian Kinsler run coming, and especially with the one thing to think about, the Angels do fall out of it. Do they trade a guy like Ian Kinsler? He's not great by any means, but he's definitely a veteran that could help some clubs out that need some middle infield help. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. He's definitely not the guy he once was. I don't think we expect him to ever be that guy again. But there is some things to be, I guess, optimistic about in the last couple months, but still not great. Not great at all.
Yep.
Let's talk about Randal Grichuk of the St. Louis Cardinals, a guy that Blue Jays, sorry, got traded from the St. Louis Cardinals. That's where I was going with that. He's always been that power bat, lefties. He's can hit righties a little bit, just tons of pop. He went down to the minors for a bit when he started off slow with the Jays this year. He's up now on the season, still only hitting 203 with 8 homers. But in the month of June, he's definitely started getting it going with a 316 average March and April because he spent May in the minors. And he's already got 6 homers this month compared to 2. He's basically got 11 extra base hits to 4. Everything you want to look at and can imagine has been through the roof when it comes to Grichuk since he's returned. He's actually been better versus righties than lefties on the season, which is kind of interesting to me because for career-wise, unless I'm completely forgetting something, he's pretty much always been that I can click on this button, it'll say career, has always been a lefty masher, at least in the National League, but maybe that has changed. Yeah, because he's always been a little better at righties, actually.
Yeah,
surprising.
He's a little bit the last couple seasons. This season's been extreme. The last couple seasons seems like he's just been sort of at the same versus both. Not better than like some people obviously are better than against lefties than righties. This guy seems to be about even.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems about even, which is cool to see. I just want to bring it up because that ballpark's live. The Jays are out of it, so they have no reason not to play him. This guy, I think, is a legit fantasy producer for teams for the rest of the year. He's not going to probably hit at that kind of a power surge, but he's definitely going to be very viable. And some people are still thinking he's not that great, but the playing time is going to be there for him. After a while, they're eventually going to realize, playing Curtis Granderson over youngsters and whatnot's not the way to go for the Jays. So they're just trying to stay somewhat competitive to try to deal some people. But pretty much pretty soon that's not going to be worth it. The youngsters will get all the playing time, and Grichuk could definitely be one of them. So go grab some Grichuk. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, his June compared to his March, April. I mean, his March, April had 119 BABIP, so a little bit unlucky there. 106 average, 31 K percentage. And then in June, brought that K percentage down to 19.4. His ISO was 404, and his BABIP was only like 308. So it not terrible, in very good in June. So hopefully he turned a corner with that little minor stint, and he really can produce some. Because like you said, you know, he's going to play Baltimore. He's going to play the bullpen games of Tampa. And then he's going to get, you know, he's got to play the Red Sox and the Yankees, but he's in that ballpark, which will be, you know, hopefully the roof's open in the summer, and it's a hitter's ballpark. He's going to get some good matchups because the AL sucks this year. Yeah, it's a sneaky play to see what he's doing. Him and Teoscar Hernandez have been pretty good buys by them, you know, as they've waited through the season. And like you said, they don't really have anything to play for. So they should play them as much as possible and get Granderson out of that lineup.
Yep, no doubt.
Next one I wanted to mention, Bubba, real quick, is Garrett Cole. I mean, obviously we know he's been tremendous. I mean, that trade we talked about earlier with him, where the Yankees should have made that deal. You know, they had the firepower to go get him. They really needed a starter, and it was rumored that he was going to go there. And then all of a sudden, the Astros really jumped in and took care of it. But lately, it's been kind of interesting. So, you know, I've thrown a few things together. So his walks are up in his last few starts. He's in his first 8 starts, he allowed 3 homers. His last 7, he's allowed 9. In his first 8 starts, he had a 16.3 swing and strike percentage. And then in the last 7, he had a 10.6. So he's not missing as many bats as he did in his first 8. Seems like he's coming back to what he was. Maybe not last year, but maybe in between of what he is now and what he was then. So I do think this is an interesting one with him. You know, I don't think the velocity is not down per se, but when you talk about what is out there in terms of starters, you know, on the ESPN player rater right now, if we're looking at, like, I had the last 30 out there and he's not even close to the top, like 25, I think. And if I go last 30, I think he is, he's 22. But for the season, he is 5th. So you've got right behind him Sale, DeGrom, Snell, Nola, Trevor Bauer, Charlie Morton. I wonder how many of those guys you take over him right now. I mean, for real. Like, obviously, I think you take Sale, right?
Yeah.
You probably take DeGrom. I mean, hopefully your league is a quality starts league, so you're gonna be fine there. You know, because he's not getting the wins, unfortunately, and that's why. You know, he's so low there. I think on that Raider, he's like a 1.28 in wins because he just can't. Everyone else is like double or triple him. And then the next couple are interesting. Snell, Nola, Bauer. Of those 3, do you take any of them over Cole?
Garrett Cole would hate to hear this, but I would take Trevor Bauer over Garrett Cole.
Tyler Bauer, yes.
Tyler.
Tyler and Trevor.
I'm a believer in both of them, the Jekyll and the Hyde. That is Trevor Bauer. I really like what he's showing out there.
Same.
And that could be a whole other breakdown, but I think he's legit. And just kind of a side piece on your Cole is, like you mentioned, you go look at his game logs through May 22nd. He was basically at 12K per 9 in almost every start, except a couple since then, 10-2-9, 9, 12, 9, 10-2-9. The walks are big time up, like you're talking about. He's given up a lot more home runs. If you just go back to May 15th and beyond, he's given up at least 1 home run in all but 1 game. So that's going up. The BABIP's still not crazy. And so that's not really the excuse you can give. He's not the left on base percentage is less than be desired. But between the long ball and the walks, he's definitely getting himself in trouble. And it concerns me. Like, I look at him all the time for the quick hits BFS stuff. And you look at these game logs and it just shows – something's not right. You mentioned his velocity and his pitch types and all that, and that was the big thing earlier was all the curveballs and all that good stuff he was throwing. And then you look at his the pitch values and like his recent starts earlier in the year, the fastballs were all 2 to 3s for the most part. Curveballs, anywhere from a half to a 1, which are all really good grades at those pitch types. And now he's getting like his fastballs. So May 15th, minus 0.7, 1.1, minus 0.2, minus 1.3, 2, minus 2.6, and half. That's less than ideal. And I won't go over the values for the other ones, but there's something that's not quite right there. Like, go look at Brooks Baseball. I didn't get into that, but I guarantee you there's something with velocity, most likely. And there might be more concern. I'm not saying he's hurt, but the drop-off like we're seeing right now has to at least raise a red flag of something's not right. Maybe it's just mechanical, hopefully, but keep an eye on Garrett Cole because that's an interesting one. I'd look to trade him. I brought it up over a month ago when he was red hot. Trade him for what you can. And a lot of people that we respect in this deal, they said, nope, you take him, you ride him. This is his Cy Young year. And maybe he bounces back, but you could have got a king's ransom for him at one time.
Yeah, and I still think you possibly could get something for him. I don't own him anywhere, so unfortunately I can't see what you possibly could get. But I think it'd be interesting to see, what the return would be because I still think people value him very highly. And, like you said, if you traded them in the middle of May, you got a ton for him. Now, I still think you can get a lot, but I'd be interested to see what you could get for him.
Yeah, let's go to Philadelphia. Our boy who wears the double chin strap, basically, he's bringing the new look to the plate. Giancarlo brought the one strap. Rhys Hoskins has the double with that broken jaw when he fouled one off his face, which was one of the most impressive, bizarre things I've ever seen in my life. But since returning from the DL, we were really concerned about how he was playing. Prior to that, he was kind of doing his thing, but nothing crazy. He had 6 home runs from March to May. He's already got 4 in June. Since coming out the deal, he's hit 357 in June. He's only got 8 strikeouts and 42 at-bats, which for Rhys Hoskins is outstanding because he was striking out at like a 30 to 40% clip in the first 2 months of the season. So there's a ton to like about Rhys. He's hitting righties. He's hitting lefties. He's doing it all right now. And I think we might start seeing another Rhys Hoskins run. Maybe he's not a cold weather fan. Maybe he needs the warm weather. I don't know. But between that ballpark and what else is going on, because you wouldn't think breaking your jaw would get your shit together. So I'm not going to go that far and say that's what it was. But he's definitely getting it going. You look at the season now, he's up to almost a 260 average. He's got 41 ribbies, 10 homers. You get your take on what you think about him. But at the same time, what are your predictions for homers and RBIs? Like 25 and 85?
Yeah, so I think number one, like you said, since he's come back, he's been tremendous. That you almost can throw out that May. Unfortunately, I think it's just because in March and April he struck out 29 times, walked 24 times, and then all of a sudden in May it was 32-10, and now it's back to 8-6. So clearly something happened there in May where he just didn't have it. He didn't have any plate discipline, and it seems to be fixed right now. Like if I look for, if I'm trying to find the swinging strike, but I can't get it right now. But I bet it's that May swinging strike is astronomical, and he's figured it out. In terms of the homers, we're midway through June, so we got 3.5 months left. I think that he can get to 25. I do. I think there's a possibility there. I think it is. It gets warmer that, maybe he gets to 30 and that could be a possibility. I actually would probably say I'm going to go with my official number is 28 is what I think he's going to get to.
Yeah, that could be interesting. For some reason, I can't get the swinging strike pulled up either, but he had a 32% K rate in May. If that stands out to anybody, that's and only a 10% walk rate. So something definitely wasn't clicking quite right at that point in time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Bob, a couple guys left. Last guy I wanted to bring up is Vince Velasquez, who is a teammate of Rhys Hoskins with the Phillies, obviously. Since May 1st, 7 to 9 starts have been 3 earned runs or under. 6 of those were 2 or under, and he had a 10 earned run start which killed him in terms of where he's ranked on like the ESPN Player Rater and other rankings. There's always that injury issue with that guy, but overall everything is down, including his contact percentage, his zone contact percentage. He's missing bats, and his hard hit percentage is down as well. People look at him and they worry about him, and you still have to worry about him because he's just injury prone, but he's there. I mean, like I said, since May 1st, he's got the 4K, 12K, 5K, but it's really been, for the most part, 6 or more Ks, which is not too shabby, but he's in those starts that he's lower in terms of strikeouts. He's not going deep into games. He needs to improve on that in terms of going deep into games. But you throw out that Milwaukee start, I mean, this guy's been tremendous, and he's always had the potential for sure. People wonder whether that's that whole Amir Garrett sort of bullpen, Andrew Miller, whoever you want to say, but this year it's Amir Garrett. where he would be lights out in the bullpen. But they're going to stick with him starter, especially where the way he's pitching in the last 9 starts.
Yeah, I am a huge Vince Velasquez fan. He's one of those guys that you just need to know that going into this, when you pick him or you draft him or you pick him up off the waiver, whatever you do, daily fantasy, season long, whatever you do with Vince Velasquez, the talent is as electric as it comes. He is very, very, very good. You just realize he can go haywire at times. That's what he does. He gives up some very, very hard contact at times. That's another thing you're just going to have to deal with when it comes to Vince Velasquez. But I love everything about Vince Velasquez. I think there's like this year alone, his hard contact rate's 32, basically 33%, which for him, that's about average. That's not ideal for pitchers, but it's not crazy. And you mentioned his game logs. He's, even when he gives up 4 earned, he strikes out 8, and he looks great through 6 1/3. And that was kind of one of those. I think he left, and the bullpen gave up a few of those that he had on base. So that wasn't even that bad a start. I think he was through 6 with maybe 1 run. That one Milwaukee start, he's been outstanding. He's between that start and a start against Atlanta, where he gave 6 runs. It's been 4 or less in every start this year. So almost basically quality starts in every start. The metrics for quality starts is stupid, but he's been that good. So this is a great guy to have. If he's available, I'd grab him. If you're worried about who he's facing or whatever, sure, sit him. But I think this guy, night in and night out, has the potential to just be really, really good. And I don't think he's found that total potential just yet, if that makes any sense. Like once he can kind of harness things a little better, his stuff is that good. He can be a top, like he could be number 2 to Aaron Nola if he really were to figure things out a little bit more. Because the thing with Velasquez, you can watch him on the mound. There is a lot of mental midgety stuff about him. He gets frustrated easy. He'll start talking to himself. If he can start harnessing some of that stuff and use his talent more, I think he can be filthy, absolutely filthy.
Yeah, and he doesn't get deep into the games. And I think, and I'm not comparing him to Noah Syndergaard, so don't yell at me for this, but I think John Smoltz talks about it all the time, where if you're Noah Syndergaard, you don't have to throw 101 miles an hour to get people out. And I think that's what a lot of young guys, where it's coming now, where the velocities are through the roof. I mean, you talk about Jordan Hicks, you talk about Chapman, you talk about Noah Syndergaard. You don't have to throw it all the time your hardest to get people out, and that will allow you to go deeper into games. And it's being able to locate the pitches is the real problem there. Another thing for him, lefties seem to own him a little bit. 363 WOBA against him this year, the batting 261. And then the home away thing is a little weird. Now I know he had the 10 earned run start at home. He had that Atlanta start that you're talking about. He just had the 4 earned run start the other day. But he's 6-7-0 at home and 2-7-9 on the road. So it's something to watch out through the summer. And then let's see if he can improve versus lefties here as the season goes on.
Yeah, that works for me. Let's just skip the last one. We don't need to go over him and move on to the prospects.
All right, let's go down on the farm. Fangraphs came out with their top 100 updated prospects. And when you look at Fangraphs prospects, it's really based off of their future value. So although most of these guys could be, fantasy relevant, it's more of their sort of scouting and rating system where they have that future value, where right now they're top 131. You look at the top 2 is Ronald Acuna and Vlad Guerrero Jr., who have future values of 70. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, I think the top one is 80 which for their rating system. I'm pretty sure it's 80, which Vlad Guerrero should be like 102, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it's probably because defensively, that's the only thing I can gather from that. But yeah, I'll go through the top 10 real quick. Acuna, Vlad Guerrero, Tatis Jr., Eloy Jimenez, Robles, Senzel, Whitley, Bo Bichette, Juan Soto, Kyle Tucker. So you get 2 of those guys already up in the majors. Vlad Guerrero should be here this summer at some point. Tatis, who knows? Jimenez probably. Senzel, hopefully. Whitley will be. Bo Bichette, you don't know. And then Kyle Tucker maybe as well. So you've got those guys. We can kind of go back and forth here. Anything stand out to you in terms of the new rankings, maybe with some guys dropping or some guys jumping?
Well, just this top 10 alone, you got Soto jumping up from 45, and rightfully so. I think people people expected him. You heard a lot of people talk, the Welsh, our buddy, you got James Anderson, Chris Blessing. There's been a lot of guys that we've talked to and whatever that they were all fans of Juan Soto, but he started in single A this year. So you don't rank him towards the top because he's not showing up yet. They like a lot of them flat out said, hey, when Acuna's off the list and all these guys are off the list and I re-rank my preseason for next year for 2019, they predicted Soto to be 1 or 2 next year. Like, that's how this is predicted. So that jump makes a lot of sense. Everybody else, for the most part, kind of stayed in line in the top 10. They might have moved 1 or 2. The part about the top 10 that's pretty interesting is Acuna will be off there soon. Soto will be off there soon. You mentioned Vladdy, who's hurt. We may see Tatis. That's interesting. Eli Jimenez just got promoted to AAA, which isn't surprising he's in AAA. I think it's surprising he went there this quickly because everybody you listen to, everybody that was talking, there was pretty much no chance Eloy was coming to the bigs this year, except maybe in late September, just for fun. So the fact he got pushed up already was pretty interesting to me. And I think I was reading somewhere or listening somewhere today, it was more teaching him how to hit the off-speed pitch. So get him up there now to get used to it. And then Nick Senzel, he's hitting really well since this last battle of vertigo may be taken care of. 4 starts in, we'll see him soon. Kyle Tucker has been straight fire in AAA. It's going to be tough to keep him down there. 10 is absolutely loaded, and the fun part, I guess, out of all my talking and blabbering and everything, we're going to see about half or more of these guys by season's end, which is pretty darn awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. I threw a few names out there. I mean, you look at this right now, and obviously the draft just happened. So we've got a bunch of guys that are just on the list. So let me just I'll give you a quick rundown of the draftees that have gone on this list. Casey Mize debuted at 31. Nick Madrigal debuted at 33. You got Joey Bart, your boy, at 57. Travis Swaggerty at 68. And then that's pretty much it. There are a few other guys that are down in the 90s, like Liberatore, Gorman, Kelnick, India, Carter Stewart, etc. And then a couple of new guys that are on there, which they've had tremendous seasons, and you need to really focus on them in dynasty leagues. Is Chris Paddock for the Padres. I mean, that guy has been insane this season. I mean, absolutely insane. I wouldn't say he came out of nowhere, but at the beginning of the season, he's ranked 13th for them. He's 22 years old at high A, but he's striking out 43% of the batters. I think he was hurt last year, so that's why he's kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, he was great with the Marlins a couple years ago, and he's been just tremendous this season. He debuted at 53. Shane Bieber, obviously we know about at 64. Peter Alonso, we've talked about at 73. Dennis Santana is 82. He's made a start for them. Griffin Canning, Micker Adolfo, 86 and 87. So those are some of the new guys there to watch out for. But Chris Paddock, I picked him up in my 20-team dynasty league. That kid's been tremendous. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him up to AA sooner rather than later.
Yeah, there's been a couple of the pretty big risers on this list. You got Jesus Luzardo for the A's. We know all about him. He's made quite the jump.
Yep.
Another one that's interesting is Alex Kirilloff from Minnesota. He was always good, but preseason 99, he's all the way up to 67 now. I believe he just got promoted to AAA last I heard. So he's definitely another guy to keep an eye on, and he might actually be able to help them this year the way he's swinging the bat. Other than that, I might question where some of these guys are ranked, but as a whole, I don't disagree. Like, the drop of Max Fried is interesting. I'm just curious about their philosophy there. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be dropped, but that was a hefty drop for a Max Fried type. Maybe because they put him in the bullpen or something. I'm not sure. But there's a couple others that just surprised me. I'm surprised Franklin Barreto got such a bump when he really hasn't done anything.
I just opened his page. Yeah, exactly.
He hasn't done a damn thing. Like, even when he's called up, he sits on the bench. He doesn't do anything. So that one kind of surprised me. Michael Kopech, yes, he's been outstanding. Just keep an eye on the kid. His control is right now. So there's something weird. His last, I think, 4 or 5 minor league starts. If you want to go look at game log hunting, that's interesting. But these are all great guys. Keston Herrera, I think, should be higher than 21. This guy literally could hit in the bigs right now. It's just a defense.
Offensively.
Part. So, yeah. So it's interesting. It's a good list, and it's what you expect. It's loaded, as you'd expect. But a couple names you can argue with, but, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, and I'm sure the midseason rankings, I would guess they'll be up in about 2 weeks, and we'll go through them, and you'll probably see differences because, like we said, how Vlad Guerrero Jr. isn't an 80 is because defensively, and Fangraphs are rating them with different tools, and it's not focused on fantasy or value to their team. I mean, if you look at his fielding, it's really his game power, and his hit is 40 out of 65 and 40 out of 70. But he's up to his future value before the season was 65, and now it's 70. So they have moved him up. That's good for them. But fielding, not too bad. So yeah, Fangraphs is more of a kind of 5-tool sort of rating for them, and not really so much, what they can provide offensively and in fantasy to their teams.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Bubba, the last one, I have it, you cover it, but I'll go through it quick. There was an article in The Athletic about the forearms on the way to the majors. We've already mentioned them for the most part, and it's Kopech, Forrest Whitley, and I'm getting it open right now, Jalen Beeks. And then the last one that I didn't really know about, and this is probably on me, was Zach Houston.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't know about him, but he's having a tremendous season at AAA Toledo. 6'5", 250. He's a big boy. Almost 20. You could be 24 years old at the end of this year. 2.55 ERA in 25 innings, 38 Ks with 10 walks. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised that he's one of those guys. I wonder exactly what he'll be, but in terms of Whitley and Kopech, like you said, watch out for Kopech. And Jalen Beeks has already gotten here, and I think he'll help down the road. He's clearly behind Kopech and Whitley in terms of a prospect ranking, but yeah, I think these are 4 guys to look out for, and that's why there's so many players in the minors, and still some of them slip through the cracks if you're not paying attention sort of every day, and it's tough to do when you're watching the MLB, and then there's a million minor league teams as well. So sometimes the Zach Houstons of the world can sneak through the cracks here, at least for me.
Yeah, I had no idea about Zach Houston at all. Numbers look great. Reading up on him looks great. Yeah, he seems, when you're throwing 98 and you're that big, it seems like there's a lot of moving parts that are going to be tough for a starter to maintain. So that makes sense. Whitley, I really think we might see by the end of July. I wouldn't be talking it's a couple weeks. I want to say by the end of the month. That's like 8 days. So I think in a couple weeks, I wouldn't be shocked if not right after the All-Star break, because he could help them in the bullpen immediately. And that could be a way the Astros don't have to trade for one. That could be a big move for them. And then, Kopech and Bleeks and company. There's a lot to like there. And the last point is, like you said, it's hard to cover all of it. And that's why the guys like Chris Blessing and those others said once they leave the minors, he had no idea what Juan Soto's been doing in the bigs. He had no clue. He's like, he's gone. He's out of my department. Not my job anymore.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I don't worry about it.
We'll take it from here.
I get him here for you. He's all your guys' problem now. So
and that Whitley thing too is what I said. It sucked that he got suspended, right? Because this was his last big minor league year to push towards the majors and get that rotation spot in 2019. But also the sneaky part of it was they were able to sort of hone in on his innings limit and kind of save him a little bit, and that may help him down the stretch here where. He's started 3 times already, hasn't let up a run yet, and he's only thrown, 4 innings in each of them. So they're really working him back real simple. And there's a possibility that they could sort of stretch out that rotation too. I mean, I know they have Colin McHugh, they have Brad Peacock that are able to do that, but Forrest Whitley's another guy that could throw a 5-inning spot start here and there for them and give McCullers a break and give Verlander a break and give the rest of them a break because, they do have a couple older guys there, and then they have who knows if Garrett Cole with what's going on, and then McCullers is always hurt. So that's a big thing for them. The Astros are loaded. I just can't even believe it.
Yeah, given some rest, all those postseason innings last year and the ones that got coming up, they could use a breather. And I wouldn't be shocked if you see him being like what Peacock did last year when Ken Giles started struggling. Peacock was their closer, and he'd go an inning and 2/3, 2 innings. That's Whitley to a T right there. So. Gonna be fun, Mo. Gonna be fun. But episode 69 in the books, man. In the books. And the highlight for me is Paul Loduca. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And I know
that's what social media is all about.
I know Keith Law, just based off of what I've seen him respond to people on Twitter, seems kind of like a clown. I think he treats people terribly sometimes with the way he responds on Twitter. And I'm not going to say he's a clown. I'm just saying the way he acts sometimes is that way. But it's sort of I don't know if he needed to get into it here. Maybe there was some story that we don't know about with him and Loduca back in the day, but he jumped right in it. And I'm not going to say he was in the wrong. I'm not going to say he's in the right, but he's made for good content. I tell you that much.
If what musical instrument could Loduca have used besides tuba to maybe make it okay?
See, it was a funny thing because before I answer that, the Patriots had like a lineman and he was terrible a few years back, and he literally played the tuba in college. So they just like mocked him on the radio called him the tuba boy because he was so bad, and he almost got Brady killed 3 times. What musical? How about the flute? I don't know. Like the guy that played the flute, the violin. I don't know.
There we go. Yeah, we'll leave that up for debate for others, but that could get wild.
Yeah.
But all right, Mo. Everybody check out Mo on Twitter at Boston_Mo, the podcast at Around Bases Pod. I am at BD Intric, and the podcast is pretty much everywhere you choose to hear it, watch it, wherever you want. It's everywhere. So go check it all out. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled broadcast next week, barring anything. We have some busy schedules these days, so a lot going on. But episode 69 is in the books. Catch you guys later.
See you.